My stepmother secretly filmed a video of me taking a bath and posted it online. However, what she didn't know was that the protagonist in the video was actually her own beloved daughter. In the middle of the night, hiding under the quilt, I saw the widely spread video on the internet and secretly chuckled. I'm going to watch these villains reap what they sow with my own eyes. At the age of 8, my parents' relationship broke down and they got divorced. My father quickly married a stepmother, and my mother remarried as well. Neither side was willing to raise me the burden. My grandmother couldn't stand it anymore. She took my hand and said, "Lear, come with me to the countryside. If you two don't want her, I do. I'll raise her." Eventually, I was awarded to my father, and was to be raised by my grandmother. I adored my grandmother, and she doted on me too. When we first arrived in the countryside, seeing how thin and small I was, she was extremely shintung. The pension money my father gave her, she had always been reluctant to spend. Instead, she used it all to buy me delicious food and nice clothes, not willing to let me suffer in the slightest. Even though I was raised in the countryside, my living conditions were no worse than those of children in the city. In fact, they were even better than when I lived with my parents before. In daily life, my grandmother spoiled me, but in terms of studies, she was very strict with me. She told me that girls should also study hard, so that they can have a promising future and become useful people. The teaching quality and environment of the primary school in the countryside couldn't compare with those in the city. After class, it all depended on my grandmother to give me extra lessons. She used to teach in the city, and only moved to the countryside to retire. But it seemed that fate just couldn't bear to see me happy. Everything I loved would eventually leave me. Just as I started my first year of senior high school, my grandmother fell seriously ill and passed away. A relative from the town brought me, still in mourning, to my father's new home in the city. Isn't it ridiculous? As his biological daughter, this was the first time I had ever been to my father's new home. It was a large house of over 300 square meters in a high-end community in the city. Before I even entered the door, my stepmother directly pushed me out. She held a bottle of alcohol spray and sprayed me from head to toe without missing an inch. "Sully, don't take it to heart. I'm doing this for the safety of all of us. I'm afraid you'll bring those dirty things from the countryside into our home." The pungent alcohol sprayed on my face, and I could only cover my nose and endure it silently. My grandmother had taught me that when encountering villains, if I wasn't capable of fighting back, I should first ensure my own safety. This wasn't being cowardly but being strategic. "Auntie, can I enter the house now?" I forced a smile. Seeing that I wasn't the least bit angry, my stepmother decided that I was an easy target and looked me up and down with a disdainful gaze. "I heard that you people from the countryside always smell. Remember to take a good bath later, and throw away all these clothes you brought from the countryside." I nodded. My stepmother originally wanted to give me a show of power. Seeing that I was a pushover and not a threat, she thought it was rather wuchu and let me in. I took my first look at my father's new home. The house was large in area and luxuriously decorated. It seemed that my father had earned a lot of money in the city after the divorce. However, over the years, he had never once considered bringing my grandmother and me to the city. He only showed up at the hometown on New Year's Eve each year, and then left in a hurry. "Oh, is this my elder sister?" A sweet voice rang out. On the sofa sat a girl about my age. She was wearing a pink short skirt, and her straight hair was neatly draped over her shoulders. "I'm Su Xiaoji. I'm 3 months younger than you." I glanced at her and quickly lowered my head, pretending to be very inferior. In fact, I couldn't help but feel extremely sad inside. It turned out that my father had already cheated on my mother when she was pregnant with me. "Sister, these are the clothes I'm giving you, and this is an electric water heater. Can you use it? I heard that in the countryside, you have to fetch water from the well to take a bath. How hard that must be." She handed me some old clothes with a smile. "Thank you. You can come to the countryside with me someday to pay respects to our grandmother." I also smiled sweetly and harmlessly at her and said, "The countryside in their imagination is still what it was decades ago. In fact, great changes have taken place in my hometown now." Over all these years, neither my stepmother nor Su Xiaoji had ever visited my grandmother in the countryside, not even showing up at her funeral. How filial they are. I took the clothes from her and went straight to the room they had arranged for me. I looked around. The room was quite clean. It wasn't large but had its own bathroom. But after I examined it carefully, I found that my bed was a shabby second-hand wooden bed. When sitting on it, the bed boards creaked eerily. They had deliberately laid a brand new bedsheet on it, trying to show my father that my stepmother was a magnanimous and understanding woman. The stool looked spotlessly clean, but it was actually broken. As soon as I put my school bag on it, the stool leg broke. If I had sat on it, I probably would have fallen and hurt myself badly. among the old clothes Su Xiaoji gave me earlier, except for the first 2 or 3 pieces that were intact. The rest of the clothes and pants either had holes or were cut into pieces with scissors. Suli, change your clothes and come out quickly. Your father will be back soon. My stepmother's voice came from outside the door. Got it, I replied calmly. Then I took pictures of all the things they had prepared for me with my phone. When I came out of the room, I saw that my father had already returned. He sat at the head of the dining table. My stepmother and Su Xiao sat on either side of him. They looked like a happy family of 3, while I was the poor and redundant one. I didn't show it, but tried my best to force a bright smile. Like a little daughter who adored her father, I called out, Dad. My father, seeing that I was quite polite, beckoned me to sit down. His gesture was almost the same as calling a small pet over. As soon as I sat down, my sharp eyes noticed that my tableware was different from theirs. They had exquisite and high-end ancient porcelain bowls, on which were respectively drawn their 3 cartoon avatars: father, mother, and daughter. While mine was just an ordinary old bowl, I remained calm on the surface and quietly ate my rice. Are you used to the room your aunt arranged for you? My father asked me. Yes, aunt and sister are very kind to me, I replied obediently. My stepmother looked calm on the face, but it was Su Xiao who couldn't help covering her mouth and laughing exaggeratedly. She probably thought I was a submissive wimp. Honey, I think Suli really looks like her mother. She doesn't inherit your features at all, my stepmother said casually, while picking up a piece of fish for my father. Hearing this, my father really stared at me carefully for a few moments. After that, he didn't say another word until the meal was over. After the meal, the 3 of them naturally put down their chopsticks and left, leaving me there to clean up the dishes. Suli, use more dishwashing detergent when washing the dishes. Don't be as thrifty as in the countryside. If the bowls aren't clean, people will get sick, my stepmother said to me in a picky tone, treating me like a servant. Got it, I replied in a low voice and carried the bowls into the kitchen. I glanced at the happy chatting family of 3 sitting in the living room, watching TV. With a few clang sounds, several delicate ancient porcelain bowls were smashed to the ground and broken into pieces. My stepmother heard the sound and quickly walked in. Seeing the pieces on the ground, her face turned red with anger. Ignoring the fact that my father was also at home, she shouted at me without any grace. You little brat. Did you do it on purpose? Do you know that these bowls were custom, made from abroad and are very expensive? Yes, even the bowls used at home were high-end custom-made items, and all the decorations were high-end furniture. Only the bed, table, and chairs in my room were all shabby second-hand goods. I lowered my head and feigned grievance. Auntie, I'm sorry. I really didn't do it on purpose. At my grandma's house, she never let me do housework. I've never done these things before. My stepmother was furious. Nonsense. I think you're deliberately going against me, trying to tease me. Then she coquettishly called out to my father. Honey, look at this girl. She's clearly an ungrateful wretch. She just came and is already deliberately trying to make me angry. My father came over when he heard the noise. Looking at the mess on the floor, his face also showed anger. Just as he was about to speak, I quickly rushed to say before him, Dad, it's my fault. I'm sorry. Before, Grandma always taught me that a daughter should be raised in a rich way. She really never let me do these things. Look, my hands are cut. I stretched out my hands in front of him pitifully, with blood oozing from the fingertips. Alright, it's just a few bowls. Don't make the house restless. My father composed himself and gave my stepmother a disgruntled look. Scolded by my father, my stepmother glared at me fiercely, but dared not say anything, and could only seethe with anger. Su Xiao walked in with a fake smile. Mom and Dad don't care about the few thousand yuan. What Mom cares about is that those bowls had our family of 3 drawn on them. Sister breaking the bowls is not a good omen. Then she enthusiastically pulled me. Sister, you were really careless. Come to my room. I'll put some medicine on you. My father, seeing the generous and decent Su Xiao, his expression softened. Let Aunt Zhang come back to work tomorrow. Why did you fire her for no reason? My stepmother pouted and muttered. I just wanted to train Suli. Let her be of some use in this house. Don't be so stingy with money. With these words, my father walked away with his hands behind his back. I sneered in my heart. As I expected, with my father being so rich, there was no way there was no servant at home. My stepmother did this on purpose to treat me like a servant. This time it was washing dishes. Next time, she probably wanted me to do all the housework. But I'm not really a pushover. If you make me wash dishes, I'll break them every time. At worst, I'll accidentally cut my palm again. After this meal, I secretly made up my mind. If my stepmother was a junior green tea, then my stepsister could be considered a senior green tea. She was not easy to deal with. Entering Su Zhao's room, it was a pink-decorated princess room, with every corner showing refinement and the careful arrangement of the owner. It was like heaven compared to my small room. Sister, sit on the stool. I have a cleanliness fetish, Su Xiao said, putting a newspaper on the stool for me to sit. I'm afraid of dirtying your stool. I'll just stand. I lowered my head and replied, pretending to be embarrassed. Su Xiao gave me a look as if to say, you know your place. She rummaged in the cabinet behind me for a long time, and then took out a tube of ointment. She said haughtily, stretch out your hand. I'll put the medicine on you. I resolutely stretched out my hand. She gave me a strange smile. Only when she applied the ointment to me did I realize that she really wanted to play tricks on me again. A sharp stinging pain came from my fingertips. I couldn't help but wince. She had put salt water in the ointment. You know the feeling of salt being rubbed into a wound, right? It seemed she had premeditated this, and had prepared it for me a long time ago. It hurt so much. There's salt water in the ointment. Seeing my fingers swelling, I cried out, and deliberately made my voice very loud, afraid that my father wouldn't hear. Su Xiao, fearing that I would call my father over, panicked and glanced at the door. Oh sister, I'm so sorry. My cousin came to my room last time, and played with the ointment in my cabinet. Who knows what bad things he did. It's okay. Your cousin is really wicked. My grandma said that such villains will be punished by heaven. I know my sister definitely isn't that kind of person, I said, looking very submissive. Su Xiao's face froze. She thought I was speaking sarcastically, but looking at my submissive face she wasn't sure. She just said indifferently, my cousin is just a naughty child who doesn't know any better. One should not do evil just because it is small. A naughty child who puts salt water in ointment will grow up to be a troublemaker, I said deliberately and seriously. Although I didn't mention her directly, every word stabbed at her heart. Su Xiao became a bit impatient, and no longer maintained her hypocritical attitude. She waved her hand and told me to leave. Back in my room, I took out ointment and band-aids from my school bag and bandaged the wound by myself. Before coming to my father's house, I didn't know if my stepmother was easy to get along with, so I prepared some common medicines and band-aids in advance just in case. I didn't expect to use them so soon. In the countryside, I often went to the fields with my grandma to grow vegetables. Getting minor injuries was a common occurrence. This injury was nothing to me. I could handle it independently. After tidying up everything, I went to the bathroom to take a shower. Halfway through rinsing, with the foam already on, the hot water suddenly stopped. No matter how I turned the faucet on and off, only cold water came out of the shower head. Although it wasn't the coldest time, taking a cold shower still made me shiver all over. I quickly finished the shower, and walked out of the bathroom clumsily, sneezing several times. Sister, the water heater broke just now. It's fixed now. Su Xiao's seemingly innocent voice came from outside the door. Got it, I replied, wrapping myself in the quilt and exhaling a breath of cold air. Because of this cold shower, I had a fever that night. I was dizzy and groggy. My father went on a business trip the next day. Without my father around, those two women became even more arrogant. They completely ignored whether I was dead or alive, didn't take me to the hospital, and didn't even give me food. They left me in the room, ignoring me. The two women happily went shopping. After having a fever for a day, they still didn't come back in the evening. Fortunately, I had common medicines in my school bag. After taking the medicine, I walked to the living room, and found that they had even turned off the power switch. The huge house was pitch black. There was no one else at home. Loneliness and fear surrounded me. I kind of missed my mother. Since she divorced my father, I had never seen her again. When I was young, although my mother always talked about wanting a son, she still loved me very much. I still remember that every time I had a fever or got sick when I was a child, my mother would stay by my bedside all night, taking my temperature and changing the wet towel on my forehead. When I was sick and uncomfortable, crying and fussing, she also couldn't sleep well all night. She would hold me and comfort me. Lear, don't be afraid. Are you willing to pass your illness to Mom? Then your illness will get better. Every time I recovered from a serious illness, she would fall ill, but she still took care of me first. The grievances in my heart welled up. Probably because I missed my mother so much, I ran to my parents' former home. That house was given to my mother when my parents divorced. The old building in the community had been renovated with an access control lock. I couldn't get in. I could only stand downstairs and shout loudly at the lit room on the second floor. Mom, I'm Suli. I'm Suli. I saw a familiar face faintly appear on the window of the room. It was really my mother. I shouted even louder. Mom, it's me, Suli. Grandma has passed away. I've come to the city. Come out and see me. But no matter how much I shouted, my mother didn't respond or come out to see me. I don't know how long it took. An impatient neighbor stuck his head out and scolded me. Stop shouting at night. It's so noisy. I was persistent and stubbornly stood in the dark, refusing to leave. Just then, the window on the second floor opened, and a strange middle-aged man stuck his head out and shouted at me fiercely. Go away. There's no one here who's your mother. Go back to your own home. Clearly, I saw my mother in the room, but she refused to come out to see me. Mom, come out and see me. I saw you at home. Although my stepmother treated me very badly, she loved her own daughter, as if she were the apple of her eye. But what about my own mother? She didn't want me when she divorced, and now turned a blind eye to me. I felt so wrong that I wanted to cry, and my heart was completely cold. From that window, a little boy about 5 years old stuck his head out, made a face at me and said proudly, Why haven't you left yet? This is only my mom. There's no mom for you. So my mother finally had the son she had always longed for, and a new family. Did she not want me her daughter anymore? Seeing that I wouldn't leave, the little boy viciously threw an egg at me. It hit me right on the forehead. It didn't hurt much, but the egg yolk smeared all over my head, making it wet and sticky, dripping down my forehead. If you don't leave, I'll throw stones at you, the little boy shouted, already holding a stone in his hand. I closed my eyes, reached out to wipe my forehead, and turned around and left disappointedly. After walking a few steps, I still couldn't help looking back. My eyes immediately met the woman standing by the window. It was my mother. My nose twitched, and the tears that I had held back for a long time finally fell down one by one. My mother covered her mouth, wanting to cry, and waved at me, signaling me to leave quickly. I watched her close the window, as if reality had slapped me hard in the face. This time, I walked away without looking back. My mother already had her own new family. It was me who shouldn't have come to disturb her. After the start of the school term, my father transferred me to a high school in the city, the same class as Su Xiao. In front of the classmates, Su Xiao subtly told everyone that I was her distant relative from the countryside, that my Putonghua was not good, and that I couldn't keep up with the study progress in the city. She asked everyone to be more understanding of me, the underachiever. The school start exam is coming soon. Won't she lower the average score of our class? It's really bad luck to be her classmate. Yeah, and I heard that some people from the countryside have bad habits and are not honest. Influenced by Su Xiao, many classmates sneered at me, the transfer student. I knew that the truth would prevail. I didn't argue with these classmates. I would let my grades speak when the exam results came out. The study curriculum in the city was indeed faster than what I had learned in high school before. Fortunately, I had previewed the textbooks of the next grade in advance. The English teacher in my previous school had an unstandard accent. High schools in the city attach great importance to oral English ability. Now I could only desperately cram my oral English. During breaks, on the way to and from school, I wore headphones and carefully listened to English texts, recited words. Sister, the school start exam is tomorrow. You might as well give up. The difficulty of our test papers is by no means comparable to that of your previous rural high school, Su Xiao said, pulling off one of my earphones and sneering. I glanced at her, feigning not to have heard clearly. I'm listening to the text. Didn't catch what you said. Su Xiao looked displeased and patiently repeated it. What are you talking about? Listen up. I put the earphone back on, silently recited English words, and treated her as if she were air. Seeing that I completely ignored her, Su Xiao, like someone punching the air with force, stamped her foot in anger. And I, completely unaffected, continued to study desperately. Grandma had taught me that diligence can make up for clumsiness. I was working so hard not to compete with Su Xiao, or those classmates who sneered at me, but to compete with myself. As long as I worked hard enough, my grades would not let me down. A week later, the results of the start of term exam were announced. My name was at the top of the list, even ahead of Su Xiao. Usually, Su Xiao's grades were stably ranked among the top 5 in the class. Because of my high scores, she had dropped out of the top 5 this time. However, I completely underestimated some people's mentality of being unable to bear seeing others do well. If your grades are poor, they shanchi you for dragging down the average score. If your grades are good, they think you cheated. Anyway, no matter what you do, they just don't like you and are dissatisfied with you. As soon as I got home and hadn't even put down my school bag, I saw my father sitting on the sofa with a stern face, as if waiting for me. Su Li, kneel down. Su Xiao and my stepmother were standing on either side of my father. When I entered the door, I even heard my stepmother sparing no effort to exaggerate things. Honey, having poor grades is just a matter of personal learning ability, but if it's cheating, that's a matter of character, indicating that this person has moral flaws. My grandma used to be a people's teacher, and my father, having been influenced by my grandma since childhood, considered himself an intellectual, and also attached great importance to children's education and academic performance. Dad, I opened my mouth, trying to explain, but my father had no intention of listening. He glared at me angrily. Kneel down. Have you ignored all the teachings your grandma gave you? You're shameless to get the 4th place through cheating. My heart felt as if stabbed by a knife. With red-rimmed eyes, I knelt down on the cold floor, enduring the humiliation. In fact, during previous New Year's Eves when my father came to my grandma's house, my grandma would tell my father every year that I had come first in the class again, and had excellent academic performance. It turned out that my father had never cared, and had never remembered. Now that I got the 4th place, he could scold me severely without any evidence. Dad, sister didn't cheat on purpose. Don't be angry, Su Xiao said sympathetically on the side, while handing a ruler to my father with both hands. My father, who was already in a fit of anger, grabbed the ruler and lashed at me without a word. Every inch of the skin on my arms and back that was hit by the ruler ached. I clenched my fists, trying my best to endure. Tears still involuntarily fell because of the pain. Originally, I could have feigned crying and begged my father to stop beating me. But this time, I just didn't want to pretend. Those who understand me will understand, and I don't need to explain to those who don't. I still remember that when I was at my grandma's house, one year I got the chance to talk to my father. I told him that there were several classmates in the class who always troubled me and bullied me, and I didn't know what to do. As a result, my father didn't even think about caring about me, asking if I was hurt or wronged. Instead, he scolded me without distinguishing right from wrong, asking me to find the reason within myself. Why do they bully you alone and not others? I felt a chill in my heart at that time, and now, I stubbornly endured. He beat me because this time, I was completely disappointed in my father. When my father was tired of beating me, he threw the ruler aside. Get back to your room. Seeing you reminds me of your mother. Bad luck. If you dare to cheat again, I'll beat you again. I looked up and saw the gloating expressions in the eyes of my step-mother and Su Xiao. My step-mother pulled my father back to the sofa, and patted my father's back attentively to soothe him. And Su Xiao took my father's arm, and massaged it dutifully. Enduring the severe pain from my knees, arms and body, I stood up from the ground, picked up my school bag without a word, and silently entered my room. At night, after applying medicine to myself, I leaned against the bedside, buried my head in my arms, and licked my wounds alone. I had already planned a scheme in my mind. Later, I still studied desperately. To keep up with the study progress in the city, I would soak in the library to make up for my deficiencies whenever I had time. But in every exam, I wouldn't rank among the top few anymore. Instead, I controlled my total score to be at the middle level of the class, only making my Chinese score rank relatively high. A few months passed peacefully. In front of my father, those two women still maintained a facade of maternal kindness and daughterly filial piety with me. As soon as my father went on a business trip and was not at home, the two women would reveal their true colors and bully me to their heart's content. They would either tear up my homework that was due the next day and throw it into the trash can or make me eat the smelly leftover food. But I pretended not to care at all, making them think that I was a meek and submissive pushover. Just then my chance for revenge came. In the first semester of senior high school, the school organized a city-wide high school students composition competition. The head teacher said that the city attached great importance to this competition. If one could get in the top 3 in the city, the school would give key rewards. Both Su Xiao and I signed up. Since my Chinese grades had always been outstanding in the grade, in front of the whole class, the head teacher placed high hopes on me, hoping that I could achieve excellent results in this competition. I nodded. As soon as I turned my head, I noticed that the eyes with which Su Xiao looked at me were filled with jealousy that she couldn't hide in time. Teacher, I will definitely work hard this time and strive for the first place, I deliberately said loudly. Shanghai, my compositions were always read as examples in the whole class. When I said something like getting the first place, it didn't sound like bragging to others. During these 2 weeks, I looked up information in thick books every day and took full notes in my notebook to prepare for the composition competition. At the dinner table at home, while eating, I was still reciting famous sayings from books eloquently. Sister, how's your composition going? Su Xiao picked up a mouthful of food and asked casually. I'm quite confident. It should be no problem, I said with full confidence. My stepmother looked at my father and then smiled at Su Xiao. Xiao Xiao, you also need to prepare well for this competition. Try to get good grades. Su Xiao pouted and simply ignored my stepmother, sullenly shoveling food into her mouth. My stepmother, in order to show off and take credit in front of my father, overlooked the truth. Su Xiao had good grades in every subject, but Chinese was her weak subject, so her ranking could only hover around the 4th or 5th place. This was also the reason why I deliberately made my Chinese score rank high, the subject that Su Xiao had taken extracurricular classes for, and tried hard to improve, but couldn't was easily surpassed by me, her sister from the countryside. No wonder she was angry, depressed, and resentful. Moreover, just making her angry, unwilling, and uncomfortable was not enough. I still had my trump card. The day before the submission, I deliberately but inconspicuously jammed my exercise book for the composition competition in a book and placed it on the desk. When I was taking a shower in the bathroom, I heard someone quietly enter my room. I didn't make a sound and opened the door a crack to look out. It was Su Xiao. She was standing by the desk, taking pictures of my composition page by page with her phone. Knowing it was her, I closed the door again and pretended not to have noticed, continuing to take a shower. After she left, I nonchalantly put the exercise book into my school bag. The next day, Su Xiao handed in her competition composition early. When it was my turn to hand in my exercise book, I accidentally discovered that the pages on which I had written my composition had all been maliciously torn out. On the surface, I looked shocked and angry, but in my heart, I felt a secret delight and excitement. Su Xiao had fallen into my trap. Let her be proud for a while. A month later, Su Xiao won the 3rd place in the city-wide composition competition. Her winning composition was posted on the honor bulletin board. I took a look. It was exactly the composition in my exercise book. She hadn't changed a single word, or even half a punctuation mark. Su Xiao took the 3rd place trophy home. My step-mother felt proud, and was as proud as a peacock in front of my father. Honey, Xiao Xiao will turn 18 tomorrow. Before that, I have to tell you great news. She got the 3rd place in the composition competition in the city. It can also add points to the college entrance examination. She really brings honor to our family. From now on, our family will rely on Xiao Xiao. The award in this city-wide composition competition had high value. My father was very satisfied with Su Xiao's performance. The next day, he held an adult ceremony for Su Xiao in a 5-star hotel, and invited some business partners and employees. At the banquet, he praised Su Xiao a great deal. A few months ago, when I turned 18, no one remembered. Su Xiao looked at me in a show-off way. I lowered my head and pouted, pretending to be disappointed and wronged. Su Xiao was convinced that I was a pushover. Even if my composition was plagiarized, I could only swallow this bitter pill in silence. But they didn't know that a woman also has a bit of temper. The higher one climbs, the harder one falls. Pushing a person to a high position, and then making them fall hard, that's when it hurts the most. A week later, my step-mother even publicized the fact that Su Xiao had won the 3rd place in the city-wide composition competition to all relatives and friends. In school, Su Xiao also became a dark horse that everyone noticed. Wherever she went, she received a wave of envious looks. Su Xiao was almost intoxicated by the sense of honor from winning the award. I knew it was time. Standing in front of the honor bulletin board, my eyes fixed tightly on the signature of the winning composition, Su Xiao. I took an anonymous phone card and called the principal's office. Stolen someone else's composition and got an unearned honor. Su Xiao, can you feel at ease? That afternoon, halfway through class, the head teacher with a dark face angrily called Su Xiao to the principal's office. I just gave her a faint glance and continued to focus on my class. Until school was over, Su Xiao didn't come back to class. At home, neither my stepmother nor my father was there. It was not until 8 or 9 o'clock that I heard the sound of the door opening outside. I opened the door a crack. In the living room, my father was so angry that his chest was heaving. "You've embarrassed me to death," he shouted. My stepmother hugged my father and pleaded for Su Xiao, trying to calm my father down. Su Xiao was kneeling on the ground, crying convulsively, with tears streaming down her face, plagiarizing an article from the internet, translating it into Chinese, and participating in such an important citywide composition competition was really a great shame, especially since my stepmother had publicized it everywhere before. Now that it was revealed that the composition was plagiarized, it was not just a matter of losing face, but being slapped in the face hard. My father scolded Su Xiao severely. Still not satisfied, he raised his foot and kicked Su Xiao in the chest. Su Xiao, who was originally kneeling on the floor, stumbled and was kicked over in a sorry state. Usually, a delicate young girl like Su Xiao couldn't bear a man's kick. She lay on the ground, covering her chest, coughing violently, and almost couldn't get up. My father wanted to hit her again, but my stepmother quickly stopped him and forcibly pulled my father to the master bedroom. Only then did the matter calm down. But from then on, Su Xiao completely lost her former status as the apple of my father's eye. In the middle of the night, without my permission, Su Xiao directly used the key to enter my room openly. I usually sleep very lightly. As soon as she entered my room, I woke up. She lifted the quilt and pulled me up from the bed. Angrily, she questioned me. "You framed me." I cowered, broke free from her grasp and shrank back, feigning innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about. I really underestimated you before. You actually deliberately showed me the plagiarized article on purpose." Su Xiao shouted at me, covering her aching chest and coughing. "That article was found by me on the foreign website. I originally wanted to hand it in to get by. How could I know that you would steal my composition?" I distanced myself from everything. It has nothing to do with me at all. First, I didn't offer her my composition on my own initiative. It was her vain desire that made her secretly take my composition. This is called trying to catch a chicken, but losing a handful of rice. Second, she copied the composition exactly as it was, which was her own laziness, and has nothing to do with me. Plagiarizing others' works will be exposed sooner or later. Without evidence, Su Xiao couldn't do anything to me for a while, and could only run away crying to find my stepmother. Usually, it was bad enough that the mother-daughter duo secretly mistreated me, but I never expected that later my stepmother would be so cruel as to play a dirty trick on me. A few months passed. The stepmother and her daughter were like two wolves lurking in the dark night, waiting to give me a heavy blow. So I was also cautious and on guard against the two of them everywhere. Such a frightened and worried life wouldn't last long. As long as they dared to take action, I could make them unable to turn the tables. Finally, they couldn't hold back. When I came back from school and just put my school bag on the bed, as soon as I lifted the quilt, I saw several black snakes wriggling on the bed. I was so scared that I took a few steps back. After carefully observing the snakes, fortunately, they were not venomous. When I was in the countryside with my grandma before, I often went to the fields to grow vegetables. When encountering such non-venomous little snakes, my companions and I would even catch the snakes and roast them in the fields to eat. This was a high-end community. If it wasn't for someone's deliberate doing, it was impossible for snakes to appear on such a high floor. But these two women really underestimated me. I grabbed the bed sheet and neatly wrapped up the several snakes. While Su Xiao hadn't come back yet, I carried the snake-wrapped bed sheet and quietly put the snakes into Su Xiao's room. The best way to deal with them was to treat them in their own way. After quietly finishing everything, I returned to my room and patiently waited until midnight. When I heard a shrill scream coming from Su Xiao's room, I was used to living in the countryside and was not afraid of such non-venomous little snakes. But Su Xiao, such a delicate girl, was already frightened silly as soon as she saw the snakes and was screaming shrilly in the room. My father and stepmother were woken up by the sound in the middle of the night. I was no exception and rushed to Su Xiao's room with them. "Mom, what's going on? How did these snakes get into my room?" Su Xiao's face was pale, already in a state of extreme panic and speaking incoherently. My stepmother was stunned for a moment and stammered, unable to say a word for a long time. She couldn't very well say that she clearly remembered throwing the snakes onto my bed, could she? "I'll call the property management to catch the snakes." My stepmother calmed down and quickly took out her phone to make a call. When she came back after making the call, I noticed that she gave me a fierce glare with her eyes, and I just looked innocent. After all, it wasn't me who started this matter. My father was woken up in the middle of the night and had a fire in his heart. He immediately shouted at my stepmother, "I work hard enough outside during the day to earn money. Can't you keep the house in order? If you can't manage it, I'll find someone else to manage it." With these words, my father left directly. My stepmother's face turned pale with fright and didn't care about Su Xiao anymore. She chased after my father. She herself relied on my father to live a good life now. If my father wanted to divorce her, she was already old. How miserable her later life would be. My father always meant what he said. Since he could propose finding someone else to manage the house, it seemed that he was really considering it. After everyone left, Su Xiao coughed a few times forcefully, and then stared at me resentfully. "It was you again, wasn't it?" Since she was kicked by my father last time, her health hadn't been very good. I could hear her coughing and gasping for breath at home every day. I shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. I'm also very afraid of snakes. I'm so sleepy. I'm going to sleep. Su Xiao was exasperated. After the snake releasing incident, I knew that they were so angry with me that they were itching to take revenge. Sure enough, a few days later at night, when I was about to take a shower and just turned on the shower head, I noticed the small red dot hidden behind the water heater casing. I always check carefully before going to sleep. Before, the small-scale tricks were okay, but this time, they were so vicious as to want to secretly film me taking a shower. My stepmother was really heartless. She also had a daughter. Well, this time, let them reap what they sow. I pretended not to notice, turned on the shower head and washed my feet. In the following days, I didn't take a shower at home. Instead, I found a bathhouse outside after school, took a quick shower, and then went home. I didn't destroy this camera, because I was waiting for an opportunity. The opportunity came soon. On the weekend, my father was on a business trip. My stepmother, as usual, took Su Xiao out shopping. With them gone, the nanny took a direct vacation, and I was the only one left at home. After making a phone call with my mobile phone, I went to the bathroom, covered the camera with a black cloth bag I had prepared in advance, and removed it. Then I took out the battery from the camera. I carried the bag, and walked to the door of Su Xiao's room. I pushed the door but couldn't open it. After the last experience, Su Xiao was on guard against me, and had locked the door. But this couldn't stump me. At this time, someone knocked on my door. It was the locksmith I had made an appointment with just now. Master, I accidentally locked my room door and lost the key. Can you make me a new key? This requires removing the lock first. It will probably take half a day to make one. No problem. I had been waiting patiently until today, knowing that my stepmother and the others wouldn't come back until midnight. Half a day was more than enough time. A few hours later, the master handed me the newly made key. I smoothly entered Su Xiao's room with the key. After entering, I neatly installed the camera behind the wall opening of Su Xiao's independent bathroom. I deliberately chose this angle, so that her face wouldn't be captured. After finishing everything, I put the battery back into the camera. With a beep, the camera was powered on again. In these few days, I had thoroughly studied various performances of this camera online. I did all this to ensure that my stepmother wouldn't find out through the background that the camera had been moved by someone. Finally, I used the newly made key to lock Su Xiao's room again. Everything was foolproof. Their means were getting more and more despicable now. I knew that I couldn't keep trying to keep the peace anymore. I had to start fighting back against them head on. A few days later, I was doing my homework in my room when Su Xiao burst in angrily. She was so angry for a reason. During dinner, my father scolded Su Xiao severely again, because of the composition plagiarism incident last time. I ignored her and continued to do my homework. Su Xiao no longer pretended to be a lady. She strode in, walked around for a while, and then stopped in front of me. I don't know where she took out a pair of scissors from. Suddenly, she reached out and cut off the jade pendant that was originally hanging around my neck. She tightly held the jade pendant in her hand. What are you doing? I was furious. That was the jade pendant my grandma gave me before she passed away. I had always worn it carefully close to my body, and cherished it very much. You like this jade pendant very much, don't you? She clenched the jade pendant, and quickly took a look at it. You country bumpkins like such cheap things. What I like has nothing to do with you. I stared at her, a fire rising in my heart. Su Xiao's face changed. She raised her hand high. I simply didn't have time to stop her, and could only watch helplessly as she forcefully smashed the jade pendant I cherished the most against the wall. Finally, it fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. My heart also seemed to break into two halves. That was the only souvenir my grandma left me. This is the consequence of offending me. Seeing my devastated look, Su Xiao raised a triumphant smile. My anger flared up to my forehead. I turned around, looked at her with red-rimmed eyes, and before she could react, grabbed the pair of scissors she had brought in just now, and directly pushed her to the ground. I used to do heavy work in the countryside, and had a lot of strength. Su Xiao, such a delicate girl, simply couldn't break free. Suli, what are you going to do? Su Xiao wanted to get up, but was firmly held down by me. She was a bit panicked and shouted at me. I silently controlled her with one hand, and used the other hand to randomly cut her thick black hair with the scissors. She was terrified, her eyes wide with horror. Suli, let me go, you bitch! She kicked and punched me, but couldn't move me at all. Seeing that these tricks were useless against me, Su Xiao burst into tears. Suli, please don't cut anymore. Please. I ignored her crying and pleading. The scissors kept clicking. Her long hair was cut unevenly by me. There was a large bald patch on the top of her head, revealing an ugly piece of flesh-colored scalp. My father and stepmother, who heard the commotion, rushed over and quickly pulled us apart. Seeing Su Xiao with an almost bald head and tears streaming down her face, my stepmother was stunned. When she came to her senses, she pounced on me fiercely, raising her hand to slap me. I immediately dodged, making her pounce on empty air. Su Xiao looked in the mirror. She, who had always loved beauty, saw her own embarrassed and ugly bald appearance in the mirror, and was so frightened that she let out a shrill scream. Ah, Mom and Dad, you guys kill Suli quickly. It's all this bitch who made me like this. My father stood there. Seeing that we, the two sisters, had made such a scene, he said irritably, Suli, what are you causing trouble again? Isn't this family in enough chaos? I lowered my head, sobbed, picked up the piece of jade pendant on the ground, walked up to my father, knelt down, and threw myself at my father's feet, hugging him. Dad, you and Grandma are the most important and cherished people to me. Now that Grandma has passed away, she only left me this jade pendant. Now it's all ruined by Su Xiao. You know that I've always been forbearing. In this family, if she hadn't pushed me too hard, I would never have taken action. I raised my head, and my tears fell sincere. My father was slightly stunned. He had originally wanted to get angry with me, but after hearing my words he composed himself. Comparing the usually cautious and timid eldest daughter with the second daughter, who had just embarrassed him not long ago, the balance in his heart had already begun to tilt. Honey, Xiao didn't do it on purpose. Instead, Su Li's revenge like this is really too vicious. How can Xiao go out and meet people like this? My stepmother, seeing that my father was wavering, said reluctantly. Enough. My father waved his hand irritably. He took out 1,000 yuan from his wallet, and stuffed 500 yuan, each to Su Xiao and me. You go buy a wig with this 500 yuan. You find a place to repair the jade pendant. Both of you be quiet. Su Xiao was so angry that her face was distorted. She covered her head and ran out crying. My stepmother anxiously followed her out. After everyone left, I raised my hand to wipe away my tears. This time, the mask was completely torn off. It was just a pity about the jade pendant my grandmother had given me. After the lesson of having her hair cut last time, Su Xiao knew that I was not someone to be trifled with. Recently, she didn't dare to easily make things difficult for me. When she saw me at school, she even wished to take a detour. At the same time, I noticed that my father had been going out early and coming back late recently, and had started to become indifferent to family affairs. When my father sent his clothes to the dry cleaner, I inadvertently found a pregnancy test form in his coat pocket. It was positive, and the name on the pregnancy test form was not my stepmother's, but that of a strange woman. I secretly hid the pregnancy test form and didn't tell anyone. Meanwhile, on our school's campus network, a video of a beautiful school belle taking a bath suddenly became popular. Almost every male student had a copy. Recently, the way my classmates looked at me had also become strange. I knew in my heart that my stepmother and the others must have targeted me again. During the evening self-study, my deskmate, who usually had a good relationship with me, forwarded the video to me and quietly told me that some people were spreading that the protagonist in this video was me and told me to be careful recently. I thanked my deskmate, but didn't show a very panicked look, because I knew the true identity of the protagonist in this video. In the middle of the night, hiding under the quilt, I saw this widely spread video and secretly chuckled. The angle I had deliberately adjusted before meant that the video didn't capture the face. When those two women uploaded the video, they probably didn't even notice that the protagonist in the video was actually Su Xiao. I logged onto the campus network and immediately pointed out that there was an inconspicuous mole on the back of the protagonist's neck in the video. Well, I didn't have a mole, so the person in the video wasn't me. As for who the person in the video was exactly, everyone could guess for themselves. Soon, my clarification post was topped on the hot search, and the popularity continued until the next day. The all-knowing campus netizens finally dug out that the protagonist in the video was really someone else. Su Xiao's name became popular on the campus network. All the unfriendly posts that had been directed at me before were now turned toward Su Xiao. All kinds of derogatory words, sarcasm, and ridicule were linked together with Su Xiao's name. At school, Su Xiao was pointed at and criticized, and she was so scared that she directly skipped class. For 2 whole days, Su Xiao didn't show up and didn't go home. My stepmother couldn't sit still and directly called the police, but they only found out that the last place Su Xiao was seen was in a bar, and then they couldn't find out anything else. Su Xiao completely disappeared from the face of the earth. My stepmother returned from the police station in a daze. While my father was away, she directly rushed into my room and tried to fight with me. Su Li, you bitch. I'm going to call the police. My Xiao is missing now, and it's all your fault. I was stronger than her, and easily pushed away her entanglement. Well then call the police. It would be best to have someone check the source of the camera, and whose account it was that spread the video on the campus network. My stepmother was immediately speechless. I continued to sneer. All of this is your own doing. Now you're reaping what you sow. It has nothing to do with me. And I might as well tell you that my father is about to get me a new stepmother. An aunt is pregnant with a younger brother for my father. Now your proud daughter is also gone. You just wait to be kicked out of the house by my father. What did you say? My stepmother exclaimed. Soon she said firmly, this is impossible. I clearly gave your father infertility medicine. He can't have a child again. Hearing this, I was shocked by my stepmother's viciousness. So she not only targeted me, but also her husband, who she lived with day and night. She was really cruel. But my stepmother didn't have time to entangle with me anymore and ran out in a hurry. What she didn't know was that I had recorded all her words just now. A few days later, my father and my stepmother had a big fight at home. I hid in my room and quietly listened to the quarrel between the two in the living room. Probably my stepmother had caused my father's mistress to have a miscarriage. In a fit of anger, my father wanted to divorce my stepmother. My stepmother cried and made a scene, refusing to give in. Anyway, I'm definitely getting a divorce. Neither you nor your daughter is a good person. You've really embarrassed me to death, my father said unkindly, kicking my stepmother to the ground. With these words, he took a step outside. I quickly opened the door and came out. I took a look at my stepmother, who was lying on the ground, black and blue from the beating. I didn't feel sorry for her at all, but chased after my father. At the elevator entrance, I caught up with my father. My father looked at me. Now that he only had me, his daughter, by his side, his tone softened. This has nothing to do with you. Just focus on your studies and prepare well for the exams. Dad, actually, Auntie has been very mean to me before. But I knew that you and Auntie were husband and wife. I didn't want to make you unhappy or cause trouble in the family, so I've always endured. Now that you're going to divorce Auntie, I must let you know what Auntie has done. I took out all the videos I had recorded when I first came to this house, and the recording of my stepmother telling me that she had caused my father to be infertile, and played them for my father to see and hear. I had saved this video for a long time, and finally, the time had come. When my father heard that my stepmother had actually played a dirty trick on him, he rushed home in a rage, and kicked my stepmother a few more times. You bitch! I was too nice to you usually. You won't get a single cent of my money in the divorce. Get out of here now. If I hadn't stopped him, my stepmother might have been directly beaten to death by my father. I didn't want to be involved with a murderer. My father called an ambulance for my stepmother, and directly had her taken away. Eventually, my father divorced my stepmother. My father used some means, and my stepmother left the house penniless. Moreover, because my stepmother had caused that aunt to have a miscarriage, she was accused of intentional injury. Even when she was discharged from the hospital, she couldn't escape legal responsibility. After the series of events, my father also fell ill. In just 1 month, I felt that he had aged several years, and a lot of his hair had turned white. Only I was by his side in the hospital. That aunt came a few times, but was scolded severely by my father, and directly driven away. She never came again. After all, she had been exposed by my father. The child she was carrying was someone else's. She knew that there was no hope with my father anymore. Dad, don't be angry. It's not worth it. Taking good care of your health is the most important thing. I sat by his bedside, tucking in the quilt for him and comforting him. My father nodded. Fortunately, I still have you, my daughter. Now and in the future, he could only rely on me. Su Xiao never showed up again. I didn't know where she had gone. Maybe she was missing. Maybe she was no longer alive. My father didn't look for her either. The indifference she had shown me before, he now gave all to Su Xiao. After the college entrance examination, I didn't choose to go to a university in another province, but took the exam for a key university in the local city, because my father asked me to start taking over his business while going to school. Before, his attitude towards my stepmother and Su Xiao was only a kind of indulgent favor like alms, while his attitude towards me now was one of great respect. I knew that this was all because I had performed outstandingly, and could give him a lot of help in business. My father relied on me more and more. With my efforts, I brought my grandmother's memorial tablet home. I hoped that my grandmother's spirit in heaven could be pleased with my current achievements. If it hadn't been for my grandmother, I might have started to give up on myself when I was a child. As for the relationship between me and my father, it was not like that of a father and daughter, but more like that of business partners. That was fine too. After all, my father had never left me with any pleasant memories. These years of experience had taught me that relying on others was ultimately like a rootless duckweed. Only by relying on myself could I grow into a towering tree. I will slowly walk the path ahead by myself. After all, my life has just begun.